Joel is the Autodesk Product Manager at NYMAT, and he'll get into his background a little bit more. But Joel, what will you be talking to the community about today?
Well, we're going to go over a little bit of my background in manufacturing and kind of how my passion has grown in this field. Kind of talk a little bit about my company, Haas and NYMAT Machine Tool, and kind of go over the demos that we just had at our Haas Demo Day this past Wednesday. Very successful. And we'll go through some of the obstacles that I kind of had to come across, just as we do in the industry. Doesn't matter how much planning there is, something is bound to happen. So we're going to go through kind of what I went through to get over those obstacles and to have a successful event.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the high-level overview. And as many of you might know, Autodesk, or actually, on Wednesday of this week, Haas across the U.S. hosted a Demo Days event at, I believe, over 40 locations in the U.S. And Autodesk had individuals present at 25 of those locations. So you may have met your local Autodesk rep if you were lucky enough to attend the Demo Days events. And Joel's going to share, the perspective that he had up in Fairport, New York, of Demo Days. So before we get started and send it over to Joel, we will ask a couple questions here. We did rename these to the Fast Track Hangout, so I want to ask a quick question here. Have you actually signed up for the Autodesk Fast Track program? And we'll get into what this is a little bit later here today, but the Fast Track, is really several different things. So let's see if we can get the audience to participate in this poll. We've only got about 10% voted so far. So let's get a little more. We've got about 30% voted here. I'd like to see that we've got some level 70 machinists as part of this. And if you're new to, HSM or Fast Track, I'd love to hear in the comments where you heard about these Friday Fast Track Hangouts. We'd love you to invite your friends and others to these events as well. I'm going to close this up and share with the audience. Looks like over half the group is part of the Fast Track program, cutting parts with HSM or Fusion CAM. We have about a third of the group that's new, so I'll go into where you can sign up a little bit. We've got a lot of level 70 machinists here, which is great to see, our engaged community. So what, I'm going to hide this for a second here. What the Fast Track is it's several different things. We actually host events locally in various facilities. Joel and the HFO in Fairpoint? I'm sorry.
Fairport.
Fairport. Okay. Has actually hosted a local Fast Track to CNC programming event at their facility. And Joel, I believe you said there was 30 or so individuals that showed up.
Yep.
So that was really, a crash course on, HSM and Fusion CAM, to share with the local customers there in upstate New York. And we're hosting these events locally. We hosted one in Nashville last week, and we've got some other events coming up in Florida, and these will continue to pop up across the U.S. So we host these local events. We host these events every Friday, engaging our community, engaging more advanced topics. If you've got suggestions for future topics, we're very open to those. Please, provide those in the question box on this event here. And these events are all available on YouTube as well, typically the Monday after they're hosted. And what this actually, all culminates in is it's really ends with Autodesk University, which is an event that we host in November. It's a whole Autodesk-wide event, but over the last couple of years, there's been a big focus, shifting towards CAM and HSM. So we want to encourage our community of users to continue to attend these events and join us, of course, at Autodesk University. And actually, what a lot of you may have seen yesterday or over the last couple of weeks, we hosted a Fusion CAM challenge, and it was the second one of this year. And the winner will be announced, I believe, in the Fusion newsletter coming up here probably in the next couple of days. But the grand prize for that is a paid trip to Autodesk University. So we encourage you, look for the Fusion CAM challenge hashtag on Instagram, engage with the users, check out what our community is doing. Very cool stuff. This last challenge was focused on work holding, so some very impressive submittals that I've seen there. And this is going back to Autodesk University, and let's ask the audience, how many of you have been to Autodesk University, or maybe you don't know what Autodesk University is. So let's see who we've got in the audience here today. This really is an annual event that we've got the North America one hosted here in Las Vegas. Last week our community had asked, this is actually a global event, and there are locations in Europe and probably Asia and possibly Australia where there's also Autodesk University events. So if you're listening, across the globe, feel free to engage with your local Autodesk community to learn more about Autodesk University. So last year was actually the first year that there was a hands-on machining course. So John Saunders, that many of you may know, hosted a hands-on machining course at Autodesk University on some Tormach machines. And it was an introduction to CAD and CAM and actually physically making parts, which is pretty neat to see. So I'm going to share the results here. So we do have a small portion of the audience that has attended in the past. For those that did not know what Autodesk University is, I gave a little overview. You can learn a lot more about it at au.autodesk.com. You can actually see previous recordings of the sessions that were at Autodesk University last year. I think the deadline to submit future class topics for this year ends next week. So if you have ideas or you'd like to teach a course, that's another way to possibly get subsidized to attend Autodesk University. We encourage our community, if there's something that you are very passionate about and you would like to present to the community, we'd love to have you there. And then a big portion of this group's too busy making chips fly. We totally understand that, and that's why the recordings are available at au.autodesk.com. So I'm going to hide this, and then going to the last page here, this is how you sign up for the Fast Track program. When you sign up for this, you actually get a 30-day trial. So the 30-day trial is a little misleading on here. It's not a 30-day trial to Fast Track when you sign up for the 30-day trial. It's a 30-day trial either to Fusion 360 or HSM. If you already have Fusion 360 or HSM, you're getting access to free Pluralsight training, lots of training content and videos, and you're also getting invites to these weekly Fast Track Hangouts. So with that, I'm going to send it over to you, Joel, and we'd love to hear more about NYMAT and what you guys have been up to.
Awesome, thank you.
Absolutely.
So can you guys see my screen all right? Good to go?
We can see it. It looks good.
Awesome, perfect. All right, so just to kind of start off here, what I'd like to do is kind of thank the HSM Fast Track team for, inviting me to join this week's Hangout. It's a privilege and to be a part of such a robust and dedicated team. So thank you for this opportunity. I really do appreciate it. So with that.
Absolutely, thanks for joining us.
Awesome. So with that, when speaking with Wayne about this presentation, he mentioned he wanted me to give a background about myself and, how I kind of started in manufacturing. So I'll start off kind of briefly giving my background. Then we'll kind of switch gears and kind of talk about Haas automation and the whole HFO network and some of the great work that NYMAT Machine Tool Corp is actually doing to support the manufacturing industry. Then we'll go into some of the better stuff, which is the Demo Day event we just had Wednesday, very successful. And we'll get into the actual machine demos and kind of what went into setting them up, programming them, and some of the issues that I had to overcome with that. And if we have time, we'll do some Q&A at the end. So to begin, I've been in manufacturing since, what's that?
I was just going to quick say on the note of Q&A,
okay.
If anybody's joining the webinar for the first time, you'll notice on the side panel there's a questions area and you can ask your questions. Some might be appropriate to ask live, and Joel has offered that he will do that, and others we might leave until the end, but you can get your questions in using GoToWebinar on the side there.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so to kind of begin, I've been in the manufacturing world since I was 14 years old, actually, and my passion for it has increased since then. I was first introduced to machining by my grandfather, who actually is retired from General Motors as a mechanical engineer. And following in his footsteps, my father works for GM as a quality engineer. So pretty much my young childhood development was focused around manufacturing. And you know how it is, you know, anytime you're near your family, of course, they're talking about work. So I'm overhearing all these mind-blowing things that they're accomplishing, and I'm like, hey, how do I get into this? You know, so as a child, I'm always building stuff and, you know, playing with my hands. So the first introduction to the manufacturing world was really the local vocational technical schools, which is basically, you know, like your junior, senior year of high school. And what that actually, my number one requirement when, you know, looking for a job, especially in New York State, was the New York State apprenticeship program. And I happened to find a local shop that was, you know, very involved in that. And I continued to work there for about 5 years, going through the 8,000 hours of on-job training. And, you know, I was working full-time. And at night for the first 2 years, I was actually going to school full-time. So it was very difficult, but, you know, very rewarding once I got through it and at the end. From there, I actually had my New York State Journeyman's papers and my associates in applied science. So I basically just continued to work. And this is when everything kind of really gets interesting, because, you know, you move from shop to shop and you see some of these awesome things from, you know, aerospace to medical to, there's this one thing I was doing, which was a satellite vibration fixture for NASA. So what it was to actually simulate sending a satellite out into outer space. And this vibration fixture took me almost a year to create, design, and actually manufacture. And it was over 20 feet long, you know, 12 feet in width, and over 5 foot in height. So this thing was a massive, awesome project to, you know, be a part of and see this thing actually work. And that you know, that's what really kind of drives your passion and increases, you know, your devotion to this trade, you know. From there, I kind of decided to take a break because I kind of had to hit a cap in where I was. So I decided, you know, time to get a 4-year degree. So I kind of went back to school, got my business degree from SUNY Brockport, which is a university local to us in New York. Attained that, and once I got out and started looking for work, I was like, well, I might as well leverage all this manufacturing experience that I have. Why, I'm not going to just throw this away, right? So I started looking, and I found Haas Factory Outlet, which is perfect because I had been running Haas machines pretty much since the beginning of when I was 15 years old. And so it was a perfect fit for me. And I started back with Haas Factory Outlet NYMAT in 2013, and I've been working as an application engineer for most of that time. And as of January, we became a Autodesk reseller, and that is kind of my my little child. So now I'm the Autodesk HSM Product Manager for the New York area. And that's kind of just a basic overview of, you know, my background and kind of how I got into manufacturing. So talk a little bit about the company, NYMAT Machine Tool. It was founded in 1981 in Fairport, New York. We became a Haas distributor in 1996. And shortly after that, we opened 2 other facilities in St. Louis and in Kansas, and that was in 2000. And just recently, like I mentioned, we became an Autodesk reseller. So we're really trying to push the idea of, hey, a one-stop shop, come to us, and we're going to help you with all your manufacturing needs, whether it's, you know, service, whether it's you need help actually with applications, or even if it's with your process. You know, we're here to help you guys, help the machining industry just take off. And Autodesk has really played a great role in that. Going on a little bit further, just so everyone kind of understands the HFO concept, or the Haas Factory Outlet concept, it's basically a bunch of small divisions that are locally supporting the industry, or those that are purchasing these Haas machines, whether it's service or support, or like I said, even if it's your process or programming, or you know, this is your very first new CNC machine, never done CNC, we're going to help you and get you going. You know, that's what we're here for. So the main things with this is the local support. You know, you don't have to reach out to California, the 3-hour difference in time. You can contact us directly, and we try our best to get there as fast as possible and get your questions answered as fast as possible. And like I said, we have a very highly skilled and trained team that is here to help. Some of our other focus is on the customer service, because we all know that, if our machine is not making chips, we ain't making money. So our service department works tirelessly to provide the fastest and most reliable service for your Haas machine. Some of the other support we do is with the Haas Technical Education Centers and with the Gene Haas Foundation. Both of these are aimed at the youth. Also, what Autodesk does is, we're really trying to go after the younger generation, or the new generation of CNC machinists. We don't ready to die down. We want it to increase. And that's exactly what the H-Tech and Gene Haas Foundation is accomplishing. So to get on to the more better stuff, it's 2017. This was on Wednesday. We had over 20 industry vendors. We had 3 Haas teams running demos. We had service maintenance seminars running throughout the day, and some feature presentations, and of course, good food and some networking. And the whole point, or the theme of the event, was, innovate, connect, and support. We want to encourage people to, take their ideas and create them and manufacture them. We want to connect, build a community, a manufacturing community that, hey, you got a question, ask. There's tons of people doing it, and I'm sure you can find answers. And the support, as always, we're here to help you. Just a couple pictures from the event. We had lots of good vendors. Yaxis New York doing some robotics, so we had some robotic integration. The upper left picture, we actually had a VIP breakfast, which was educators and industry-related companies in the area, and we were trying to figure out, there's a gap of when people come out of school for, what the employees expect from what they're actually learning. And, we were trying to, come together and see if we can, bridge that gap of education. So the 3 machines that we actually running were all produced with Autodesk Fusion. We had a UMC 750 SS, which is a 5-axis machine. We had 15K spindle speed. So we were really trying to show off, some of the 5-axis routines such as SWRF and some of the other pathing technologies. Our VF4 SS, we had, 12K spindle speed, and we were kind of showing off, high-speed surfacing. And we'll get into that just in a couple seconds. And then finally, we had the ST20 SSY, and of course, we're really focusing on the live tooling and the Y-axis and the ability to be able to, mill some slots on a cylindrical part, so you don't have to go throw it in the mill. So this was the actual part we created on the UMC 750 SS. And as always, like I said before, you can plan until you're blue in the face, but there's things that are going to go wrong. So in this demo, the tooling that was ordered came in incorrect. So of course we had to go back to our Fusion and update our tooling and our pathing so that we can accommodate for the tools that we actually had. Another thing we ran into is the stock that was ordered was much larger than what was actually originally programmed. So we needed to go adjust that as well, which is quite simple. If you take a look, I'll show you guys how I kind of did it real quick. Open Fusion here. So this is the part we actually were looking at here. You can see that the actual part is shown here as a 6x4 nice boundary box right on the actual part, but unfortunately that is not what we received. So what we had to do is go into setup here real quick, go to the stock, and we just had to adjust. So it was actually 10 by 2. It's quite a bit different. So we had to go.
I was at Selway in Union City, and we had the exact same issue and had to do the exact same thing.
But how easy is it with Fusion, right? You don't have to go recreate any toolpaths. All you had to simply do was update them out of the stock. And if you looked, we regenerated the toolpaths. And now we will be able to accommodate for that larger stock if we were to run through a simulation.
Exactly. Angelo found that 30 minutes before 10 o'clock when everybody was supposed to show up, and at first he was, oh no, and it was a quick change, and and ready to go.
Of course, right?
It's interesting that happened in multiple places.
So you can see that it actually
shops all the time.
Oh, it happens constantly. It's one of those things that, you try so hard to plan to avoid all these things, and it's inevitable that something is bound to happen. But, being able to change and adapt to the situation quickly, that's really the key factor. And Fusion really does make that so simple and easy. Like you saw how quick and easy it was just to adjust the stock size, and now these paths are actually accommodated for that larger stock. Sure, larger and more cycle time, but easy enough. So that's one of the things we actually had to go through, and an obstacle we had to overcome, but it quick enough and easy enough. So let me go back to my screen here. All right, moving on to the VF4SS. We did something really cool this year. Normally, we do a demo days, and it's these parts that actually have absolutely no feasibility or use. So people are asking me, hey, so what does this part do? Well, it's a great paperweight. So what we did this year is we actually went out and talked to one of our customers, and we actually demoed their parts. So what we're looking at here is actual K-bar knives, and they're actually creating the handles with doing some high-speed surfacing. And of course, fixturing is always a problem, so I had to do a lot of manual work with the fixturing. And of course, try to help out our customers. I did some optimizing of the program and knocked about 10 minutes off their cycle time, which of course I'm sure they're happy. But I got a lot of good feedback of showing this to the general population, and they thought it was awesome that they could physically hold the end result, that knife, and see, hey man, this is awesome that you're doing this, and you're doing so many all nicely nested on this fixture plate. So I thought that was a very good demo. And finally, our last demo was highlighting the live tooling and the Y-axis. And we featured Walter tooling. But of course, wrong tooling came in, and we needed to adjust the tooling and then repath as always. But it was easy enough with Fusion. And that ends my presentation. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to, to kind of go over real quick just the demo day event. And, as if anyone has any questions or, just curious about any of the other things that were going on, please feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, so again, you can ask your questions in the GoToWebinar panel. I think we can leave them. You touched on a lot of topics, how Haas supports machines, some of the events, this idea of a vendor being a one-stop shop that's not simply giving it a machine or simply a toolpath technology, but helping customers actually make parts, which requires software, tooling, and hardware. So I think any questions on that front are open.
Yes, absolutely.
I see the first question. This is from Roger. Maybe if you can open Fusion back up. Roger's saying when you showed Fusion, he noticed some collisions. So first and foremost, I'm glad that he noticed that. So right down on the bottom bar, you see all those red tick marks. That's showing a collision. I have my suspicions on why there's a collision being shown there. I think he was just simulating the adaptive toolpath, and the facing operation hadn't happened yet, so you're getting a collision with the top of that stock. But we could go ahead and see exactly why. So, Joel, why don't you simulate? Yeah. So now when he's simulating the adaptive and the roughing, there's no more collision. So it was simply that he was simulating it without having previously faced the top of the part. Good eye there, Roger. I'm glad that the software shows that so easily that you can catch that. If you could, though, Joel, maybe go back into that adaptive toolpath for some that might not know what was happening and just simulate that adaptive toolpath so that we can show show what was happening there. So close out of this simulation and let's just simulate the adapters so we get those collisions back. So yeah, see that we got these red tick marks right away. You could click on any one of those red tick marks down on the bottom and we would jump to that spot. Maybe if you showed stock, you can turn on stock in your simulation. You might want to pause the simulation so it doesn't keep playing, and then just click on a specific spot. And there you go. You can see intuitively I was right. So it's colliding with the top that we hadn't faced off yet. Does that answer your question, Roger? I know you can't talk. You can put some comments back in the webinar here. I have a question for you from Demo Days. I was at Selway, and it seemed like there was considerably more excitement about what was going on in manufacturing this year than even last year. There was a much more of a wait-and-see approach, especially on the West Coast. How would you see the manufacturing community feeling today in the Midwest, or I guess farther to the east is where you're at? How do things feel like for our industry?
Well, I think towards the beginning of the year, it was seeming like things were slow. I don't know if it was maybe with everything, with the election, everything, maybe people were a little weary. But as from Demo Days, I did also see a lot of excitement. A lot of people, really trying to get involved with advancing their technology and trying to become more efficient. Trying to become competitive, more competitive. And we see that a lot, with these smaller shops. It's hard to compete with some of these bigger shops that have all this, this higher technology, or have the budget to purchase this kind of technology. But the Autodesk Fusion 360, I saw a lot of people interested in this because it's an affordable solution, and there's people that are programming manually still, and fast fingering things at the control, and for $300 you can just go and get this program, and the amount of time and energy you're going to save, and not even that, you're going to save on mistakes, on collisions. Anytime you do anything by hand, you're going to have some sort of error, right? So using this kind of software, you're going to eliminate most of that. So I really did see a lot of people interested in taking advantage of this software, and especially with Haas machines, because they couple so perfectly with it.
Yeah, I saw the same thing at Selway. It was interesting. There's excitement around the industry being strong again, but had a number of conversations with shop owners that are saying they want to use the strength right now to see if they can't get technology that can help them weather a downturn again. So if things slow down, they've got technology that helps them ride the storms in the future. So it sounds like you're saying the same thing. People are saying, yeah, things are better, but how do I use technology to make sure if things slow down in the future, I'm not in a spot where I've got a lot of maybe salaries to pay, or things where I'm not efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple other things, actually, if you don't mind me interjecting, is I'm very closely related with all the schools in our area, and we have quite a few schools. And in the last 6 months to a year, there's programs that had been closed in the past 2 years that are now reopening, and we're starting to see a lot more student interest. And I actually was just in a school the other day, and I was walking by, and they're using Fusion 360, and I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. And I'm looking at what they're doing, and these kids, man, they're innovative and they're creative, and that's why I think the Fusion is such a powerful tool, because it's getting in the hands of people, that really should be using it, that maybe would not have been able to afford such software before. You know what I mean? So now we got kids that are really starting to get excited about what they're doing, because now they can create something on pen and paper and then translate it into a model and then recreate and then create it and hold it in their hands. And their excitement alone, that is you know, it makes me excited, because now I see, you know, we see a lot of people in the industry starting to retire and things, and it's getting a lot of people nervous that we're not having enough skilled workers coming out of school or ready to do this. And HSM and Autodesk Fusion is really leading the way on this. And I think really they're going to become the industry standard. And that's why I have full force behind them.
No, it's funny. This conversation is completely not thought of ahead of time. It's funny you say that, because that was another thing that hit me at Selway is they'd actually bussed a group of people down from Sacramento, and one of the guys that came on the bus is leading up the charge of bringing the machining program back to a college in Sacramento. It used to be a very strong machining program, and over the past few years it sort of fizzled out, which seems like that's what happens in education. I personally taught high school for a few years, and I taught in a room that used to be an electrical lab, and then it got turned into theater arts, and then it sort of came back to be a place to teach trades. And it seems like education goes through these cycles. Trades make sense, trades don't make sense. But again, it's kind of exciting to hear you're seeing schools push into manufacturing again, and here as a school just bought 10 Haas machines and looking at getting a bunch more. So absolutely cool that from the East Coast to the West Coast, you're seeing education invest in manufacturing again, and it's not a dirty trade anymore.
No, it really isn't, and it's a great environment and great jobs for some of these kids that, you know, they think they have nothing to turn to. They don't want to go to a university for 4 years. You know, they'd rather be working with their hands, and this is a perfect alternative. And as soon as we get them interested and excited, that's what it really comes down to, is get them all excited.
Yeah. What about everybody on the webinar? You can use the questions place to make a comment too if you want. What are maybe some people from the Midwest? What are you seeing with the industry? And I did see a comment here too, Joel. I think maybe there's a little bit of wind noise from your microphone, so I don't know if you're too close or what. But thanks for the comment, Scott.
Fusion? Are you just using the ones included, or are you doing a lot of customization?
Honestly, from what I've found from the posts that are available online in the post libraries, I have not had to tweak any of them for functionality. More so just for I want the coolant to turn on now, or, you know, I want to pre-stage a tool. But actually, functionality, I have not had to edit them at all. And I really find that very factory ones are great. I mean, from all the times I've used them, and I've used them across at least 6 different machines, and I've had no issues.
Thank you.
Well, that makes Renee happy. He's the architect of the post-processor system. There's many guys making posts now, but Renee started it all.
Well done.
I'm not seeing many other questions here. We'll give people a few minutes to ask questions, and if there's nothing else, then maybe we can wrap up and let everybody get back to the shops.
Sounds good to me. And as always, if there's questions after this, feel free to reach out to me. That's not a problem.
All right, Matt, what do we have up for next week?
So next week we actually have a recap of the Fast Track to CNC Programming and the meetup event that were held in Nashville last week. So it'll be nice to hear from Brandon Brandon Feldman, in his shop and kind of his background as a tattoo artist and what he's doing out there in Nashville and what he saw at that Fast Track event and what they showcased. You might have seen some of the cool things on Instagram. They had a 120-year-old letterpress that they machined a cutout that they made some pretty sweet posters on. So they're going to go over the events that they held there. So you'll get a little more exposure into the local Fast Track events that are being held across the U.S.
Good. So I see Keith just gave us a nice little comment. Again, he's one of our power users. I think he's got a UMC 750 among her machines in BC, British Columbia. It seems like manufacturing is strong locally there too, but he's seeing the same need, not quite enough from education. It seems like in the U.S. we've identified it a little more and the schools are reacting. And in Canada, it seems like there's schools haven't started to react to have more machining programs. So, definitely shares the opinion that the more we can do as industry people to support education and help it, the better for our trade in general. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for that. And Al, to touch on that, as many of the audience, or much of the audience might already be aware of, but anything involved with education, Autodesk provides free licenses for. So if you just, in a quick Google search, if you search Autodesk Education, if you create an Autodesk account with your education-related email address, you'll get access to any of the Autodesk software for free. So please take advantage of that. Pass it on to your kids, anyone else that's involved in education. We want everyone to be aware of this.
When you mention kids too, if any of you are trying to get your young ones up on 3D and even something like Fusion is 2D, try out Tinkercad. I've got an 8-year-old that's been having a lot of fun with it. So there's lots of ways to motivate kids to grow up past Minecraft and use something maybe a little bit more professional on the pathway to true manufacturing type modeling. Tinkercad's a great way to get them started.
Yeah, absolutely. And then before we end, I just want to share a couple more of the resources that we've gone over today. Let me know, can you see my screen now?
Yep, we're seeing your screen.
Okay. So, we mentioned Autodesk University, the whole Fast Track program, it really ending and culminating as finalizing with Autodesk University. So, you can check out more information on the event. The Las Vegas event is really broadcasted here, but it is a global event, as I mentioned previously. You can actually go to online learning here and get access to videos from previous Autodesk University events. So we encourage everyone, we want the HSM community to be a bigger and bigger part of this whole Autodesk University event, and you'll continue to see, CAM and machining be more relevant at this event. And then, of course, we always encourage our community to engage in the HSM community forum. You can, as you can see, it's very active. We've got Al, the product manager. We've got a lot of the development team. We've got a lot of the application engineers, the Autodesk HSM resellers, and even customers answering each other's questions. And if you find yourself stuck with anything in HSM, we really encourage you to do a quick search here. And if you're not seeing anything, to create a post. This is really the fastest way to get engaged with answering your questions. And then, as I mentioned, the YouTube channel, this is where all of these weekly Hangouts are posted. There's other quick tips and things from our application engineers that are posted on here as we come across common questions from our community. We'll do little tips and tricks and post them in here. And, there's lots of great playlists. All these Hangouts are posted in the webinar playlist. And, the last thing that we want to, ask everyone to utilize is the Autodesk Knowledge Network. And this was previously an internal database for our customer-facing application engineers, and we realized this is such a fantastic database of videos and tutorials and content that we decided to open it up to the entire community. So any kind of questions that you might have if you're working late in your shop, you'll likely find the answer here in the Autodesk Knowledge Network or on the forums. So we encourage everyone in the community to engage in these resources that we have available, and it's a great way to stay connected with the development team and the whole community as a whole.
One last quote, since this was about Haas. If you didn't watch it yet, I highly suggest. John Saunders just posted a video last night of a tour of the Haas factory with Mark from Tip of the Day. There's an excellent 20-minute walk through the Haas factory. So if you've got 20 minutes left in your schedule since you planned on an hour, go check out John Saunders' 20-minute tour of the Haas factory.
Awesome, Al. Thanks for that. So I guess if there's nothing else, we can end this a little bit early today. Go check out John Saunders' video of the Haas Factory Outlet tour, or I guess the Haas Factory tour, not the outlet.
And that's NYC CNC. John Saunders, NYC CNC.
Yeah. So we'd ask our community as well to invite friends to this event. Anyone else that's involved in the CNC world would be interested in HSM. We do have our fast track events on Wednesdays for new users, and we look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be here with Brandon from Feldman Machine, and he's going to be talking about the Fast Track and Meetup Fusion 360 Meetup event that was held in Nashville last week. So thank you everyone for joining, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.